In the world of sports, heroes are made not just by their performance on the court, but also by their courage off it. Caitlin Clark, a name synonymous with dominance in women's college basketball, shocked the world when she blew the whistle on one of the most prestigious institutions in sports, USA Basketball. What was supposed to be a dream come true for any athlete turned into a nightmare that Caitlin Clark could no longer stay silent about. This is the story of how a rising star exposed the hidden flaws within an organization that many thought was untouchable. Buckle up, because this one is going to be a game changer. Caitlin Clark, the Iowa Hawkeyes phenom, has been a household name for basketball fans, thanks to her record-breaking performances and undeniable talent. With a knack for draining three-pointers and dishing out assists, Clark has quickly risen through the ranks to become one of the most exciting players in college basketball. But her journey wasn't just about putting up numbers and winning games. It was about standing up for what's right. When Clark found herself in the USA Basketball program, she quickly realized that the organization wasn't all it was cracked up to be. What happened next is a tale of bravery, controversy, and the pursuit of justice. Before we dive into the drama, let's rewind and take a closer look at Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise.
The Indiana Fever select Caitlin Clark, University of Iowa.
Born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa, Clark's passion for basketball was evident from a young age. She dominated at Dowling Catholic High School, becoming a four-time All-State selection and one of the most sought-after recruits in the country. Her decision to stay close to home and play for the University of Iowa was a significant moment for the Hawkeyes, who had long been overshadowed by other powerhouse programs. But Caitlin didn't just meet expectations, she shattered them, quickly establishing herself as one of the best players in the nation. Clark's freshman season at Iowa was nothing short of spectacular. She led the nation in scoring, averaging over 26 points per game, and became the first player in NCAA history to lead the country in both points per game and assists per game in the same season. Her performances on the court were electric, but it was her leadership and poise that truly set her apart. Fans and analysts alike were in awe of her ability to control the game, her deep range, and her court vision. But as her star continued to rise, so did the pressure, both on and off the court. With her success came new opportunities, including an invitation to join the USA Basketball program. For most athletes, this is the pinnacle of their careers, the chance to represent their country on the global stage. But for Caitlin Clark, this experience would prove to be anything but a dream. As she immersed herself in the program, she began to notice things that didn't sit right with her. Behind the glitz and glamour of USA Basketball, there were issues that many had overlooked or simply chosen to ignore. And Caitlin, known for her tenacity on the court, wasn't about to let these issues go unnoticed. The first red flag came during her interactions with the coaching staff and the selection committee. Despite her stellar performances and undeniable talent, Clark felt that the decision-making process lacked transparency. She wasn't the only one. Other players, too, voiced concerns about how team selections were made, but their complaints were often brushed aside. It became clear to Clark that the organization was not as player-focused as it claimed to be. There was a disconnect between the leadership and the athletes, and this disconnect was leading to decisions that weren't always in the best interest of the players. But the problems didn't stop there. Caitlin also noticed that the resources and support provided to the players were not up to the standards one would expect from a top-tier organization like USA Basketball. The training facilities were subpar, the medical staff was stretched thin, and the overall environment was far from the supportive atmosphere that had been promised. For an athlete who had dedicated her life to the sport, these shortcomings were unacceptable. As she started to dig deeper, she found that these issues weren't isolated incidents. They were part of a larger systemic problem. Clark wasn't one to keep quiet when something didn't sit right with her. She knew that if these issues were affecting her, they were likely affecting other players as well, many of whom didn't have the platform or the confidence to speak out. So, she made a decision that would change everything. She decided to go public with her concerns. It wasn't an easy decision to make. Speaking out against an organization as powerful as USA Basketball could have serious repercussions for her career, but Caitlin knew that staying silent wasn't an option. She had to stand up, not just for herself, but for all the players who deserved better. The day Caitlin Clark exposed USA Basketball started like any other. She was scheduled to do a routine interview with a sports journalist, but what was supposed to be a casual conversation quickly turned into something much more significant. During the interview, Clark didn't hold back. She openly criticized the organization, detailing the lack of transparency in team selections, the inadequate support for players, and the overall mismanagement within the program. Her words were powerful, and they resonated with many who had experienced similar issues but had been too afraid to speak out. The interview sent shockwaves through the sports world. USA Basketball, an organization that had long been revered and respected, was now under scrutiny. Fans, analysts, and fellow athletes were all talking about Caitlin Clark's revelations. The response was immediate and intense. Some praised her for her courage, calling her a hero for standing up against a powerful institution. Others, however, were more critical, questioning her motives and wondering if she was simply bitter about not getting the recognition she deserved. But regardless of where people stood, one thing was clear. Caitlin Clark had started a conversation that wasn't going away anytime soon. USA Basketball's response to the allegations was swift but somewhat guarded. The organization issued a statement acknowledging Clark's concerns and promising to look into the issues she raised. However, the statement was vague and lacked any concrete actions or solutions. For many, this response was disappointing. It felt like the organization was more interested in protecting its image than actually addressing the problems. This only fueled the fire, and the pressure on USA Basketball continued to mount. As the story gained traction, more players began to come forward with their own experiences. Some shared stories that echoed Clark's concerns, while others defended the organization, insisting that their experiences had been positive. The media coverage was relentless, with every new revelation adding another layer to the scandal. It wasn't just about Caitlin Clark anymore. It was about the broader issues within USA Basketball and the need for systemic change. The conversation had shifted from being about one player's grievances to being about the future of the organization and the well-being of its athletes.
The idiocy of Team USA Women's Basketball. How dare you make this decision?
Behind the scenes, tensions were running high. Clark's decision to speak out had put her in a difficult position. While some of her teammates and coaches supported her, others were more hesitant and worried about the potential fallout. There was also concern about how this controversy would affect her career moving forward. Would she be blacklisted by USA Basketball? Would other organizations be reluctant to work with her? These were all questions that Caitlin had to grapple with, but she remained steadfast in her decision. She knew that what she had done was right, and she was prepared to face the consequences. The fallout from Clark's revelations was significant. USA Basketball was forced to conduct an internal review to address the concerns that had been raised. The review uncovered several areas where the organization had fallen short, including a lack of transparency in the selection process, inadequate support for players, and poor communication between leadership and athletes. The findings confirmed much of what Clark had said, and the organization vowed to make changes to address these issues. But for many, the damage had already been done. The trust that had once existed between USA Basketball and its players had been severely compromised. For Caitlin Clark, the aftermath of the controversy was a mixed bag. On one hand, her courage to speak out earned her praise and respect from many within the sports community. She was seen as a whistleblower, someone who was willing to risk her career to expose the truth and advocate for change. On the other hand, she also faced criticism and backlash from those who felt she had overstepped or questioned her motives. The situation highlighted the challenges that athletes face when they choose to speak out against powerful institutions. But despite the mixed reactions, there's no denying that Caitlin Clark's actions had a lasting impact. Her decision to expose the flaws within USA Basketball forced the organization to take a hard look at itself and make necessary changes. It also sparked a broader conversation about the treatment of athletes within sports organizations and the importance of transparency and accountability. Clark's story became a rallying cry for athletes everywhere, reminding them that they have a voice and that they have the power to demand better. The broader implications of this scandal go beyond just USA Basketball. It raises important questions about how athletes are treated within sports organizations and the power dynamics that exist. For too long, athletes have been expected to stay silent and accept whatever conditions are handed to them, but that's starting to change. More and more athletes are speaking out, demanding transparency, accountability, and respect from the organizations they represent. Caitlin Clark's story is just one example of this growing movement, and it's clear that the sports world is entering a new era. As for Caitlin Clark, she continues to focus on her basketball career. Despite the controversy, she remains one of the most exciting players in the game, and her future is still incredibly bright. She has shown that she is not only a talented athlete, but also a strong and principled individual who is willing to stand up for what she believes in. Her actions have inspired many, and she has become a role model for young athletes everywhere. Whether she continues to play for USA Basketball or chooses to pursue other opportunities, there's no doubt that Caitlin Clark's impact on the sport will be felt for years to come. But the story doesn't end here. The ripple effects of Clark's revelations are still being felt, and the conversation about athlete welfare and organizational transparency is far from over. USA Basketball has a lot of work to do to rebuild trust and ensure that it truly lives up to its mission of supporting and empowering its athletes. The changes that have been promised need to be followed through with real actions, and the organization needs to show that it is committed to creating a positive and supportive environment for all its players. In the end, Caitlin Clark's decision to expose USA Basketball was about more than just pointing out flaws. It was about pushing for change and standing up for what's right. Her story serves as a powerful reminder that athletes are not just performers on a stage. They are human beings with rights, voices, and the power to make a difference. And while the road ahead may be challenging, there's no doubt that Caitlin Clark's courage has set the stage for a brighter future in the world of sports. As we continue to watch Caitlin Clark's journey unfold, one thing is clear: she is not just a basketball player, she is a trailblazer. And her story is a testament to the power of speaking out and the impact that one person can have on an entire industry. So, the next time you see Caitlin Clark on the court, remember that she's not just playing for herself. She's playing for every athlete who has ever felt unheard, undervalued, or mistreated. And that, my friends, is the true mark of a champion. The day Caitlin Clark exposed USA Basketball will go down in history as a turning point, not just for the organization, but for the entire sports world. It's a story of bravery, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of justice. As more athletes follow in her footsteps, the landscape of sports will continue to change, and the voices of those who have been silenced for too long will finally be heard. So stay tuned, because this is just the beginning. Caitlin Clark may have exposed USA Basketball, but her impact is far from over. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to stay updated on all the latest developments in the world of sports.
Martin looking. Here's Clark. She fires and goes! She hit it!